Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we are back again with a full run of AQ map 7. So this is map 7 day 5 and I ended up recording it and then I just kind of got busy and distracted a bit, and anyway, so I'm doing the voiceover for it now. In section 1 I actually only have a couple of fights. First one is this Black Panther Civil War on this Footloose node. So he is quite an annoying opponent because of the fact that you can't really parry him, with few exceptions, of course. But nonetheless, we brought in our 6-star rank to Nick Fury, and this is also skill week. No, it's actually science week, but skill champions also get 20% attack increase, so that's helping us out quite a bit. And as we can see, all that massive armor, we don't really care much about it because damage over time is a very effective way how to bypass all of the armors and resistances and stuff like that. So now he does drop his level 2. Now I just need to wait out till that Unstoppable and Evade does expire. Now that it has, we can once again go back in there safely and finish out the fight. The goal is I'm just going to be blocking in order to prevent him from throwing his level 1 basically, and then the bleeds should be able to finish him out. And we did took about 10% damage, which isn't the worst thing, and this is like one of the harder fights as well for this Footloose node, and it's Nick Fury. We kind of want him eventually deadish anyways. And now we're going to be going up against Red Skull. Now Hyperion could have been a really good matchup as well, but this time I brought in Cap America Infinity War just because I hadn't used him too much for a while, so I figured I'll change things up a bit and I'm going to check out how he does here. And since we do have a Cosmic on our team and our Cap is max sig as well, that means every time we parry we are breaking Red Skull's armor, and that means we are basically free to crit as normal. Also, if you have maxed out parry and stupefy masteries, your heavy attack is over basically before the stun expires, so even with that evade buff you are perfectly safe to drop your heavy attacks. And obviously Captain America Infinity War's own ability to nullify the Unstoppables are coming in handy here as well. So Cap is actually a really good option against these Footloose nodes if you have a Cosmic champion with you especially, but all in all it just works out quite well there. And yeah, now I was asked to leave that Wolverine and Hulkbuster for a teammate of mine who needed some Corvus charges, so that is exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave it all to him. And now next video we are already in section 2, and I am doing can't stop, won't stop path basically. And as you noticed, I don't really have any champions that can go unstoppable, but with can't stop, won't stop, since it's 25% damage, if you take kind of like the damage extreme champions, as in the champions that can output a lot of damage in the fight, you can still manage these fights without a timeout, even dealing 25% off your original attack, because I don't really have all that many champions that can go unstoppable to begin with, and to trigger it consistently and constantly, man, it's a really annoying node. I really hate can't stop, won't stop, and for vast majority of the time I just kind of choose to ignore it and just go and try brute force through it if I can at all. And since this is day 5, it's a very good proof that yes, you can brute force through these, because yeah, if you can do it on day 5 you can definitely do it on day 1. So now 50 seconds in the fight, he's at 68%, so we're well within our target. Now we do have that Hurt Locker node active. That means we do have to alternate in between our special attacks. Can't throw 2 of the same special attacks in a row, otherwise I'll get blasted by a really huge chunk of damage. And yeah, therefore you do need to kind of pay attention on what you are doing. We win level 1s in between your 2s, so on and so forth. However, Hyperion is a fairly easy champion to kind of use and get around all of that stuff, just because of that massive power gain. You always have access to power and basically whichever special attack you want. Timing of it is kind of important though. The only thing where you do not want to get stuck is if you threw a level 3 and then build up to another level 3, because then you will be truly and royally stuck. But other than that, thanks to the power gain, you're kind of fairly free to play around this node extremely easily. And yeah, I absolutely love Hyperion for so much stuff in IQ. And so we can see here that 2 minutes in the fight, it's nearly over. We got a whole minute to spare, so Hyperion deals insane amount of damage. Keep in mind that this was only 25% of his original damage output. And next fight is Gwenpool, and I can't really do that Gwenpool with Hyperion, mainly because she also has Strike Back node on her, so I can't be spamming my special attacks. So for the next fight, I will in fact be bringing in Nick Fury, and we're gonna see if Nick Fury is able to finish out this fight on time without timing out basically, or needing to activate his life model decoy, because I didn't really quite want to get chipped down yet. I figured it could be useful to keep that extra health, why not? And basically I'm just gonna see how quickly or not can we finish this fight without accessing the real damage powerhouse that Nick Fury has. But he is quite good for this fight, mainly due to the fact that you don't really kind of have to drop any special attacks if you choose not to. Therefore I can pretty much just ignore that hurt locker node. I'm not going to be using any special attacks whatsoever. I'm just going to be punishing Gwenpool with full combos, ending up with light hits, dealing that biggest bleed that Nick Fury has available, and hopefully you can be the timer in this fight. And now, since the fight is going to be fairly simple and monotone, I'm just going to go ahead and speed it up. But at the same time, I can quite clearly see that 1 minute in the fight, she is under 60%. So we are going to make it on time, and unless there is some sort of big mess up or she doesn't throw a special attack for like a minute or something. But all in all, we are managing to get in here on time without much problems, without needing to go to the real Nick Fury. This life model decoy does a good enough job overall. So yeah, 1 minute and 36 left on the clock now. She's at 35%. As I said, it's a very kind of simple basic fight. I'm not throwing any of my special attacks, so I'm not gonna have to worry about that global node hurt locker. I also don't have to worry about strike back on Gwenpool, and Gwenpool's awakened ability that she will survive my special attacks. I'm just gonna slowly and surely bleed her out, bleed her down without kind of like much finesse in this fight. It's just sticking to the basics: parry, full combo, bait out special attack, punish that, and it's quite as simple as that. And if I do end up taking a bit more chip damage than you would normally like to with regular champions, then just remember it's Nick Fury. It's kind of like still working to your favor, because eventually you want him kind of dead. And now the next fight is gonna be Yondu. It's still a last fight on Can't Stop, Won't Stop, and for this fight we're gonna be bringing in Hyperion. And again, in this fight we even have a class advantage. Now obviously the one trickier kind of thing is here that we don't really want to push him to level 2. Even though I can evade that level 2, it's still quite tricky, don't want to mess up. Additionally, parrying is harder on this fight as well. But all in all, considering that we do have the class advantage and the fact that it is Hyperion and he switched in between his special attacks quite easily, we shouldn't have too much of a trouble. But in general, I think that Can't Stop, Won't Stop is just such a horrible node design, because being unstoppable is a really powerful ability and something that's really tricky to deal with if you are facing an opponent that is unstoppable, especially if you do not have extremely specific counters for that. And then in addition, that kind of makes sense that there are no champions that routinely easily go unstoppable. Otherwise they would be an absolute nightmare to fight on defense. And then having the requirement of you being able to trigger unstoppable frequently, man, it's just outside of Thing, and only if that Thing is like really highly ranked and high sig, there's pretty much no good champion, no great option for any of these Can't Stop, Won't Stop nodes. And whenever it appears in any piece of content, I just shrug my head. I really, really dislike these nodes. Whether it's do you burn and stuff like that, that's kind of more easy to deal with, just because incinerate, shocks, bleeds, all that stuff, it's a little bit more common. But yeah, unstoppable is primarily designed to be some sort of defense or some sort of short burst of unstoppable when you do something like Man Thing has, for instance. But to kind of have it unstoppable consistently throughout the fight, it's just crazy. I mean, it's a very annoying node. I cursed whoever came up with it. I think it's very kind of short-sighted design. But that being said, we are at 45 seconds left in the fight. This Yondu is at 6%, and we are doing just fine. And again, this is day 5, so the previous days obviously were quite a bit easier. And even that hurt locker node isn't really hurting Hyperion all that much. Now that this fight has been done, once again, I do not get in on any Omega Red action or Annihilus. I don't even remember what was there that week. But we do have our tier 3 open, and that's where we're going to be going to. And tier 3 is tunnel vision. Now, in all honesty, I quite like tunnel vision because you can always use it to heal up your champions should there be any need for it. This time, obviously, I didn't really have that many fights in the first years, and I didn't like have a huge mess up or anything. So all in all, we're doing quite well there. In health department, I don't need to focus on healing up any of my champions, and I can just kind of like focus on getting through the fight, through the node itself. And I think I will make a small mess up in one of the fights, but it will be with Nick Fury, so it won't matter all that much, to be honest. But yeah, so I'm just gonna be here trying to place as many inner bleeds as I can on this Massacre. And as we can see, he is chopping down. It's quite refreshing to fight these fights where your damage isn't gimped after that can't stop, won't stop, because those fights were kind of like excruciatingly long for something you have to do 5 days in a row. But yeah, it's always a nice time when you can get through your AQ fights relatively quickly. You don't want every fight to be full 3 minutes or close to it anyways. And yeah, so down goes Massacre. I did make a mistake there. I did trigger that tunnel vision there on myself, but luckily enough, didn't really matter because he just died. And now we are going to be going up against this Daredevil. He again has the tunnel vision. I think in this time I don't even wait for him to get unlinked, because I kind of had to get my Nick Fury dead anyways before Thanos boss because of that heal prevention node. Basically, you need to make sure that you are already fighting as real Nick Fury, because you will not heal up if you die in that fight. And so since it had Starburst on, I figured I might as well just go in with Nick Fury and chip away at him, and I should be kind of fine overall coming out of it, because once Starburst starts dealing real damage to me, I'm going to trigger my second life, and that's as soon as second life triggers, I'm going to have a quite big damage burst, and that will help me kind of like finish out the fight quite quickly. And just like before, we're mainly focusing on stacking up as many of the internal bleeds as we can. We're keeping to 2-3 internal bleeds. That's quite decent there, and it already is doing some solid amount of damage there, even without the Fury buff that Nick Fury gets once the life model decoy is destroyed. And yeah, so we are halfway done with the fight. We have lost quite a chunk of health already, and as the fight progresses, obviously we are taking more and more damage, such as the nature of Starburst. But that's kind of the goal here, so I don't mind too much at all. And yeah, Daredevil is also quite an easy opponent to go up against. If it would be somebody that's much more difficult, I might have not tried. But in this case, kind of like, why not? I still had 2 other champions that are perfectly healthy. And so even if something goes wrong in this fight, I don't have really all that much to worry about. And yeah, we have a minute and 20 seconds left here. He's at 15%. We have reached Assassins. And everything's going pretty much perfect. We are seemingly gonna run out of health at the same time as the Daredevil does, or just before him actually. So we still have 6% health walking out of this fight. Didn't even kill off life model decoy, and because of that, here I do make one mistake though. I shouldn't have gotten rid of the initial health Nick Fury has here. If I did that, I could have taken also the next fight linked, because next fight has shock link on it, and if I had destroyed Nick Fury's life model decoy in that fight, I could immediately shrug that shock off and do also that fight linked. Kind of forgot about it, and that is the only reason I kind of ended up waiting to get unlinked. If I just did this fight with like Cap or whoever and brought in Nick against that linked Venom the Duck. I could have done that fight linked as well, but you know, it is what it is. Nothing kind of like too tragic. Just meant that I had to wait for a bit longer before I could fight that duck. Sorry, it's not Venom the Duck, it's Loki. They alternate. It's Venom the Duck on alternate weeks, and this week we have Loki. But either way, he has Shock Link on him, so I had to wait till he gets unlinked. As soon as he does, though, I'm gonna jump right in there with my Captain America Infinity War, and we have class advantage in this fight. It's Science Week, and it's going to be a fairly easy time overall for us. Just need to remember that tunnel vision and ideally finish with 100% health, because we do have those perfect parries, and it's always satisfying to watch that full yellow bar. And yeah, it's a quite simple fight, to be honest. Here you can see we got a nice crit on our heavy attack, and why not, kind of. And he's already at like 41%, one level 2 hits for 60k. All done and dusted, and we can move on to the next fight. Next fight, I'm gonna speed up once again, just because it's gonna take quite a while. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have brought in Cap, just because Cap doesn't really have the greatest damage output when you measure it, kind of like how much damage he does per minute in a fight. And obviously this Groot is stacked as well. And yeah, so this is definitely going to take a while, and we're dealing only half amount of damage than we normally would. And these mini bosses just before that Thanos, they're not difficult, but they're definitely stacked. And Groot can be quite annoying to fight because obviously he's bleed immune, so I didn't want to bring in Nick. And he will shrug off all the debuffs quicker, so that's going to be harder to fight with Hyperion as well. Even though in hindsight I should have probably just brought in Nick, went unblockable, and how easier time here. And yeah, it's definitely taking a while. I'm actually just gonna cut it towards the end. There will be a couple of mistakes, but here we are, several minutes later. As we can see on the timer, we have been fighting for like 7 minutes, so it was a bit of a drag of a fight, but nonetheless we got it done, and that means that we can jump straight in that Thanos fight. Now, I did not manage to jump on Thanos straight away. Somebody already had chipped him away to 70-something%, but we do have most of our champions perfectly healthy, and let's see how well we can do. These are not going to be my best Thanos fights by any means. We'll make quite few slip-ups, and there is going to be a bit of a nail-biter finish there as well. First level 1, we do get slightly unlucky. We didn't get any Incinerate, so that's sometimes the case with Hyperion's RNG. But nonetheless, we're going to drop our level 2 now. We still have to alternate in between our special attacks because of the Hurt Locker node, which is always very fun and interesting. And still, Hyperion, even with all that, is a really great option for this. Now, I do make a mistake here. I drop a special attack in Thanos' block, and that's it. This fight ended up quite quickly, so I just thought he's going to dash back in at me, and I'm typically quite alright doing the special attack intercepts. In this case, however, we got KO'd quite quickly. So at this point, he's at 58%. We do have Nick Fury, however, and Nick Fury is a fantastic guy to use against this Thanos, just because he can pretty much ignore that aspect of evolution. I do make a slight mistake there. I do take that level 1 in the block, but at the same point we did manage to get our inner bleed on, which is already showing some decent results. Thanos is below 50% at this point. Now I can drop my level 1, plus we finished the combo with light attack, so he's bleeding for like 3k a tick. And fortunately I do take another hit in the block, and that's kind of like starting to get worrisome. I do nail this away though, and we're gonna go in for another full combo, another parry, which leaves me at like very few health points, and I do have to be careful. And since it's Hurt Locker, I can't go for another level 1 now. I need to get to level 2, but we're gonna finish this with a light hit, and unfortunately I do get tagged by Thanos. So it was really actually quite sloppy fight, but that insane damage Nick Fury puts out still let us deal considerable amount of damage, and now he's only at 140 something k health, and I still have Captain America Infinity War. Now Cap is not the best guy to fight against Thanos, just because he in his essence relies on parrying a lot, and even though he can parry like a champ, that aspect of evolution and that massive attack Thanos has, it's not really going together all that well for us. Nonetheless, we're going to give it our best shot. He's at 19%, and we're going to see how well we can do and whether we can possibly maybe finish off Thanos here. No crit on the level 2, but it's still dealing some decent damage since it's Hurricane node. The next special attack we're going to have to go for is going to be level 1, which I do with only 1 kinetic charge on, so we're definitely not doing the optimal amount of damage, but every bit counts at this point. And here, as you can see, 11%. So we have made progress, definitely. I'm already doing better than I thought I will in this fight, despite Cap being, a very bad matchup here. But that will pretty much do for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, do leave a like. Let me know how do you like these AQ modifiers, which of them you find the most annoying. But yeah, that will pretty much do for today. Thanos is about to knock me out, and I got to go as well. So I'm gonna catch you guys next time, and don't forget to hit that sub button, like button, and all the buttons if you are new to the channel.